August was the height of summer, given England's short season, though there were a few subtle hints that autumn wasn't far behind. The sun was beginning to lower in the sky, and wasn't the brightest shade of yellow when it did come out. Arthur stopped the young bay gelding he was walking back to the stables. He patted the animal on his muscular neck. "If you don't mind, I'm going to remove my coat. It's gotten far too warm." The horse, in turn, shook his head. Arthur laughed as he came out of his dark brown jacket and laid it in front of the saddle, over the horse's withers. The horse having tripped and thrown a shoe, Arthur had no recourse but to lead the beast back to the stables. Of course, it had to happen on the day he decided to test the youngster out. The bay was one he bred and was raising to sell as soon as his training was sufficient. He picked up the reins again, and the pair began walking again. Suddenly he heard hooves thundering across the meadow. Looking up, Arthur saw nothing but a blurred image, unable to make out much more than the horse was a grey and the rider was unrecognisable. Was the grey the one he and his grooms had found wandering the estate? He couldn't be sure, and since he couldn't mount and ride after the interloper, he could only hope the pair came calling again. Arthur decided he'd tell his stable-master and grooms to be on the lookout for the horse and rider. It wasn't that he minded people riding on his land, he simply had a strict rule that they ask before riding. But the more he thought about it, the angrier he got at the idea that whoever this was rode their horse as though a barn was on fire. Reckless. That's what it was, and he was determined to find out who this person was. The best way to do this would probably be to visit all the neighbouring estates and see if he could find the grey. He was certain the rider and horse lived nearby. Arthur patted the gelding and started walking towards the stables. After about 10 minutes, he saw the building come into sight and let out a sigh of relief. Not that he minded the walk. He spent a good amount of time walking the estate instead of riding. He could see more at ground level, and things he might have otherwise missed if on horseback. As he entered the stable-yard, his stable-master, Mr. Smythe, came hurrying out of the building as soon as he saw Arthur and his horse walking in. "He threw a shoe, so I walked him back," Arthur said, handing the reins over to the man. "I apologise, my lord. Those were new shoes." "It could happen to anyone, Smythe. I'm just thankful it hadn't started raining." He stood and watched as Smythe handed the horse over to one of the grooms. After words were spoken, the young man led the bay into the building. "That grey came racing by us like there was no tomorrow. So fast I couldn't make out the rider," Arthur said. "Again?" "Yes. I'm sure the pair live close by, so I'm thinking of riding to the neighbouring estates and seeing if I can't find out who they are and why they insist on riding on my land. I wouldn't mind, but this person's reckless, and I won't allow it." "That might not be a bad idea, Your Grace. No good can come of this. Someone's going to get hurt." Arthur nodded. "Exactly. In the meantime, if anyone finds that grey loose on the estate, catch it and bring it back here. Someone's bound to miss the grey and come looking for it. I'll make sure everyone knows. Would you like me to have Midnight saddled for you, Your Grace?" Midnight was Arthur's latest mount. He'd found him at Tattersall's in London, quite by accident. So impressed by the animal and his lineage, Arthur purchased him on the spot. The stallion was massive in not only build but attitude. The pair quickly bonded. "Perhaps later. I've an appointment, but I'll send word if I need him saddled."